We've hit the halfway mark of the week here at CNN Student News, and of course, we're glad to have you along. I'm your host, Carl Azus. First up, world leader makes a historic trip to Iran. But before we dive into the details, can you figure out who made the visit? See if you can ID me. I was born in 1952 in a city that's now known as St. Petersburg. Before getting into politics, I worked as a KGB intelligence officer. I was first elected Russian president in 2000. I'm Vladimir Putin, and here's a fun fact. I have a black belt in judo. Mr. Putin was in the Iranian capital of Tehran yesterday, taking part in a meeting of the 5 countries that border the Caspian Sea. Along with Russia and Iran, the summit was attended by leaders of Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and Turkmenistan. Now, during his visit, President Putin talked about Iran's nuclear program. Iran says it is peaceful, but the U.S. claims Iran is trying to make a nuclear weapon, and it has pushed the UN Security Council to impose sanctions or penalties on the Middle Eastern nation because of it. But here's the thing. If a permanent member of that Security Council votes no on any resolution, it is automatically out, vetoed. Now, there are 5 permanent members, and as you've kind of guessed, Russia is one of them. As Anish Raman explains, it makes for a pretty compelling backdrop to Putin's historic trip.
They spent the day side by side, 2 presidents challenging the West by affirming Iran's right to nuclear power.
When it comes to the nuclear issue, the Iranians are cooperating with Russian nuclear agencies to reach a peaceful objective, and all the countries involved have expressed their idea that peaceful nuclear activities must be allowed.
Russia is, of course, a veto member of the same UN Security Council looking to sanction Iran, again, over its year-long defiance of a UN deadline to stop enriching uranium. The chances of that now seem slim. And with a close to $1 billion deal in place for Moscow to build Iran's first nuclear power plant, the Russian president warned the world against attacking the Islamic Republic, vowing that no Caspian Sea country would be used to hit another. A veiled reference, it would seem, to Azerbaijan, where the U.S. is rumored, according to the Associated Press, to be considering as a staging ground for any possible military action against Iran. It all seems a Putin-style slap in the face for the Bush White House. But why now?
2 themes dominate the mindset of the Kremlin today. First, they're delighted that America is bogged down as it is in Iraq and Afghanistan. And second, the Kremlin has an exaggerated notion of Russia's own importance.
By any measure, this was a historic trip, the first one since 1943 of a Kremlin leader. Back then, it was Joseph Stalin, sitting side by side with U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, 3 allies eager to end World War II. This time, a much different message from Vladimir Putin, one of support for Iran and, in turn, one of great concern for the West. Anish Raman, CNN, Cairo.
Time for this shout out. You just heard that Russia is one of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. What are the other 4? If you think you know it, shout it out. Is it the US, China, France, and Germany? China, France, the United Kingdom, and Germany? The US, France, Germany, and the United Kingdom? Or the US, China, France, and the United Kingdom? Give you some extra time on this one. 5 seconds, go! D is the correct choice here. Russia, the United States, China, France, and the United Kingdom are the permanent members of the UN Security Council. That's your answer, and that's your shout out. From the Security Council to Homeland Security now. Now, since you guys have been in school for a while, you've probably done your fair share of drills. Fire drills, tornado drills, even intruder drills. But students aren't the only ones who take part in these exercises. The government does them too. Right now, the Department of Homeland Security is running one called Top Off, which stands for Top Officials. The drill simulates a crisis situation, and it tests how federal, state, and local officials respond to an attack or a major disaster. Now, this is actually the 4th Top Off drill. The last one took place more than 2 years ago. Many states still haven't seen the reports on it. The government says these exercises help prepare for real attacks. Some critics are questioning just how effective these drills actually are. Gene Meserve looks at both sides of the debate.
One critic compares the top-off exercises to a highly choreographed Japanese kabuki dance.
Everything is detailed, scripted, is known well in advance what will occur, and people simply step through the motions. There's no way to learn anything because people aren't supposed to make mistakes.
The fumbled federal response to Hurricane Katrina, proof, the critics say, that lessons are not being learned and implemented. The storm hit after 3 multi-million-dollar top-off exercises. The last top-off was held in 2005. Some members of Congress are irate that 2 years later, the report laying out weaknesses in preparations, response, and recovery has not been shared with all 50 states and their local governments, who will be the first-line responders in the next real emergency.
Our state and locals are not the enemy. They are our friend. They are our partners in this effort.
Federal officials say those after-action reports expose too many vulnerabilities to be made public. But they insist the problems revealed by Top-Off are being incorporated into federal disaster planning.
If you don't exercise, if you're a football team and you never actually play a scrimmage game, you're never going to know what's working and what's not working.
So what do you think? Is any drill worth the effort? How about the drills you have at school, like fire drills, terror drills, school lockdowns? What do you get out of them? A sense of knowing what to do in an emergency? Are you even paying attention? Tell us your opinion at the CNN Student News blog from A to Z with me. You can find it at cnnstudentnews.com. Is this legit? If you were to encounter Ursus americanus, you'd be encountering a black bear. You bet that's legit. Ursus americanus is the scientific name of the black bear found in North America. An excursion into the great outdoors can make for a relaxing weekend. Breathing the fresh air, enjoying the calm of nature. One teenager's tranquil trip turned into a traumatic trial when his tent mate turned out to be a real beast. You know that Ursus americanus encounter we were just talking about? Well, this guy had one. Luckily, some quick thinking saved the day. Just in time for Halloween, a story about every camper's nightmare. Boy Scout Chris Molassix was spending the night in Pennsylvania's Hickory Run State Park when he got an uninvited visitor. Witnesses say it was a black bear, like this one, about 3 feet high at the shoulder. It tore into Molassix's tent and dragged out the 14-year-old camper.
Then he gets his mouth and spins me around, and I see him and he's standing there up on its legs.
Not a welcome sight, but Molassix somehow managed to keep his cool.
I just played dead because that's what they told us in training.
Easier said than done when every instinct is telling you to scream and run. But keep this in mind, bears are faster than you are, but they don't typically eat people. So though Molassix got bitten, you can see the tear marks here in his jeans, the animal eventually left him alone after other scouts started flashing car headlights and banging pots and pans. Authorities later captured a black bear that was roaming the area, though it's uncertain whether it was the same one. As for Molassix, well, he says this won't keep him from camping. Our daily email tells you what's being featured on CNN Student News. And if you sign up now, we'll send you a Planet in Peril world map. If you already get the email, just sign up again to receive the map, and we promise you will not get double emails. Sign up today, cnnstudentnews.com. Finally today, CNN is covering a story about a group of boys who get stranded on an island after a plane crash. Okay, maybe that's not exactly the truth. It's not actually a CNN anchor you're seeing there. It's a student. And those stranded boys, totally fake. This report is all sorts of real. Marcus Haroon, who's apparently a really big fan of CNN, had to give a book report on The Lord of the Flies. He decided to talk about Jack, Ralph, and Piggy with this truly terrific takeoff on the Situation Room. Can only assume he aced that one. You can watch the full report on our website, cnnstudentnews.com. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Carl Azus.
Out of the UK, schoolboys rescued. 27 boys who were evacuated during the war when their plane crashed. Why did no one find them sooner? And now there's some boys that were confirmed dead. Find out how they were rescued and how they survived. I'm Marcus Haroon, and you're in the Situation Room. Tonight we're just learning details of 27 students that were found on a deserted island. British schoolboys ages range from 6 to 12 were found on an unknown tropical island. A passing naval ship spotted the fire on the island. The kids say that they started that fire so then a passing ship would be able to come and save them. With more information on how the boys actually got Marcus, they reportedly were evacuating from the UK in the midst of the war when their plane crash landed on this island. Now, no adults were left alive, so about